So guys, just before I begin this next video, if you can, comment, subscribe, share, and smash the like button on this video. I believe if you smash the likes, it gets recommended to other users and it helps the platform grow, so I'd really appreciate it. But this next story, it demonstrates just how dangerous of a society that we're living in. So at the end of this video, I'm going to go through the term of flexing and how dangerous it can be. But let's just get into the story first. So honey trapping, it's a practice, involves the use of romance for quite possibly a monetary purpose, amongst other things. The trap involves making contact with an individual who has information or resources required by a group or individual, and the trapper will then seek to entice the target into a false relationship in which they can get information or take valuable goods or even have influence over the target. Now this next story is going to demonstrate how this honey trapping technique turned deadly. So a man who posted on Instagram with 2 Rolex watches believed to be fake Rolex watches was killed after 2 women drugged him and an attempt to rob him. Saul Murray had been set up in a honey trap by Surpreet Dhillon and Temidayo Awe, who seduced him and stripped him. He was found in a pool of blood in the communal entrance of his flat in Luton after their male accomplices, Ikem Affia and Cleon Brown, had been summoned because the drug had not knocked him out. The police were able to later identify the murderer Affia by a distinctive and rare Montclair coat he was wearing. It matched the one worn in the CCTV on the night of the offence. Affia was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 25 years. The others were convicted of manslaughter. Dhillon and Awe entered the flat at around 11:30 at night on February the 26th last year. CCTV played to the jury at Luton Crown Court showed the women who admitted targeting other men in a similar way, leaving the flat, followed 19 seconds later by the 2 men. Affia was carrying a large knife in his right hand. As I said, the Rolex watches were fake and Murray had no expensive items in the flat which he had only just occupied. A jury found Ikem Affia guilty of murder. Surpreet Dhillon, Cleon Brown and Temidayo Awe were convicted of manslaughter. All 4 defendants were convicted of conspiracy to rob Mr. Murray between February the 8th and February the 28th. Affia was also found guilty of having a blade. At the trial, the prosecutor, Jane Bickerstaff KC, said, "Mr. Murray can be seen just a few seconds after the men. He is hobbling and completely naked. He opens the communal door and he falls over and dies. Just want to say, rest in peace, Mr. Murray, and my condolences go out to your family." She said a night shift worker dialed 999 after returning home an hour and a half later and saw Murray in a pool of blood. Post-mortem found he died from a deep wound to his thigh. It penetrated his femoral artery and he bled out. The murder took place in the very early hours of Sunday, February the 27th, after Surpreet Dhillon made contact with Murray via Instagram or WhatsApp. The 4 defendants then travelled to Luton from London late on Saturday, February the 26th, in a Mercedes A-Class car that Brown had hired. Murray met the 2 women outside his flat while the 2 men went off in the car and used a drive-through McDonald's. Prosecutor said the 2 women had shared brandy with Murray and they gave him GHB to knock him out. The prosecutor said Miss Dhillon and Miss Awe admitted entering the flat with GHB and giving it to him. They admitted they had done this before, setting up men and stealing items from them, including watches, whilst those men were asleep. The men set up were also given GHB. The prosecutor said at some point there was plainly some degree of sexual activity between the 2 women and Murray, as swabs from both sides of his face and neck contained DNA from both women. The GHB dose had not been strong enough to knock out Saul Murray, and the 2 men were then contacted. The police linked Dhillon through the Instagram contact with the victim. Awe was picked up through a social media contact with Dhillon, and the DNA of the 2 women was found on Murray's body. Affia was wearing a £1,300 Colt at the scene, and telematics in the car linked it to a KFC in London. Affia was seen wearing the coat, and detectives discovered only 69 had been sold in the UK. Information from Montclair revealed at the time that less than 300 of the coats were available in the UK, with just 69 being sold online, and one had been sold to Affia's partner and delivered to his home address the previous year. Check that out, guys. Man got caught out by wearing a Montclair jacket because Montclair had all the customer details on when, where and how the coat was sold. Madness. When Ms. Dhillon was giving evidence, she admitted targeting 6 men in similar honey traps between October 2021 and February 2022. She said one victim lost £32,000, and she said Awe had been involved in 4 of those occasions, so these two obviously worked in tandem. In a victim personal impact statement, the victim's father described Saul as a wonderful son. He said he had watched his son die on CCTV, saying, "It's the last thing I think about before going to sleep and the first thing I think about when I wake up." Judge Michael Simon said Murray's life had been cut brutally short. He said, "Nothing this court says or does can possibly repair the void in the hearts and lives of those to whom Saul Murray meant so much." The judge added something went wrong with the primary plan. Exactly what went wrong is beyond the court's capacity to be sure within the available evidence. He went on to say Dhillon, she had lived a predatory lifestyle by doing mails over on social media, adding, something that seemed like an easy money game had the potential to go wrong. After the sentencing, Detective Inspector Dale Mepstead from the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Unit said this was clearly a planned attack facilitated by Dhillon and Awe and carried out by Affia and Brown. It's obvious from the way the two women used a sedative substance on Murray and the fact Affia was armed with a knife that they were prepared to get what they wanted at any cost, which was sadly Mr. Murray's life. She added it was a very lengthy and complex investigation which involved scrutinising hours of CCTV, phone data, vehicle telematics and other evidence to place each of them at Murray's flat at the time of the offence. She said, "I hope that the knowledge that all 4 people involved in this horrific incident, all 4, a couple of fake Rolex watches, will be locked up for a very long time, and hope it can bring some justice to Saul's loved ones." So guys, what a tragic story. As I said at the start video, flexing, I'm going to discuss it a little bit here. Is flexing simply a celebration of how good your life is, or is it deeper than that? So for those of you that don't know what flexing is, flexing most commonly refers to either showing off material possessions and wealth, and it can manifest in a number of ways. You may flex your social status, or the number of people you're friends with, or how much you travel, your physique, the possessions that you got, your car, how intelligent you are. It can be a number of things. And it seems that these days, flexing is all over social media, and honestly, it can be really difficult to resist flexing when you have something that you want to show other people. Just the other day, I saw what's-his-face, Jake Paul, bragging about his wealth, his cars, his $1 million home, how much money he made through boxing. And obviously he has millions and millions of people watching and following him, and they think this is normal behavior. So when they acquire something, they feel as though that this is normal to share with the people that probably watch and follow them. And social media can make other people's lives feel really glamorous and exciting, but many influencers, micro-influencers, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, celebrities who seem to be living a luxury lifestyle also have admitted to feeling empty inside, and through flexing comes that false sense that material things are what make us happy. And the thing is, in life, if something makes you happy, then go do it. If you feel as though that you want to show other people what possessions you have, then go ahead and do it. But I'm just letting you know, be a little bit cautious with regards to what you share. Not everybody watching or liking your post has the best intention for you. Some people may be liking your stuff, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, you know what, I'm going to take that from them. The evil eye, the jealousy. How come that person's got it? How come I haven't got it? You know what? I'm going to go and take it. And I'll be honest with you guys, it doesn't need to be a stranger. It could be somebody in your circle. It could be somebody in your circle. You become successful in whatever you're doing, and they want a piece of it. And it eats at them. It eats at them from feeling in the pit of the stomach that doesn't let them relax. They want what you have, and they will do anything to get it. my advice would be always remain humble. And I'm just going to finish off with this. So I'm going to let you know something. So around about 10 years ago, I met up with a friend after ages, and we met up and went out for food and stuff. Going back to the car park, and he goes, "Mate, are you driving that?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're living way below your means." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just a car that gets me from A to B." But in my mind, I was thinking, you're basing my lifestyle upon a car that I'm driving, telling me that I'm living below my means, but this is the way I choose to live. At the end of the day, people will always have opinions. They'll have opinions on what you look like, what you're wearing, where you're living, what car you're driving. Does it even matter what these people think, as long as you in yourself feel secure and happy in your life? I wish and pray that you all receive whatever your heart desires, but make sure you be humble with it. But at the same time, keep an eye out on the cockroaches that are around you. It's your boy GC. Keep it locked, keep it real.